All right, welcome everyone. We have another very special guest today on Big Free. This is episode number 5. We got the man, the myth, Jason Koonce, owner, founder of Otia Sports. Brian Rast, of course, is here present. We're going to be chatting, and this is just, again, it's going to be a good old conversation. We have no structure, nothing, but we're just a couple of friends that love sports cards, hanging out, talking. Jason, how are you?
What's up, guys? It's good to see you. Love talking with you.
Hey, we're here. We're here. First of all, Jason, before Rast, I'll let you kind of gather your thoughts. Jason, where are you? What's in the background? And are you 1v1 versus Michael Jordan on a mural?
Yeah, so Michigan late at night. Luckily, Ras didn't oversleep this one, so that's good that he's able to join us. But yeah, it's late. It's Michigan. It's dark. We're out in the basketball court. Every kid's dream, obviously. I woke up a couple years ago and said, fuck it, let's do this thing. So we built the court. One of my buddies put the mural up for me. That's unfortunately it's not my body. We can tell that's we used Blake Griffin's body, added my beautiful face, and of course we're guarding Michael Jordan. So yeah, we're out in the gym.
Very, very nice. Rats, what do you got going on there? Looks like you got some charts in the background. You look like you're crunching numbers. You probably didn't even look at what's on your screen before. If there's something
Well,
valuable, we can restart the podcast. But
nah, man, it's just I haven't been crunching any charts today. This is just the Bitcoin. This is my crypto monitor over there. That's always in the background in our podcast. But I can take it down, and there. Now we have like a beautiful landscape.
I like it. I
No
like it.
numbers. It's just Bitcoin, just up and down every day. Is it 42,000? Is it 38,000? I don't know.
How are punks doing? Are punks doing good?
I mean, in F, they've been kind of holding. I mean, they're down from the peak, right? I mean, at one point the floor was over 100 F, and it's down from that. But it's been holding like 60 or 70 for a while now. I mean, Ethereum is down a little bit too from the peak. So in US dollars, they're down. But I mean, there it's up quite a bit from a year ago.
We're
Yeah,
we're
Still,
hol- we're,
but yeah,
we're holding though. We're holding, so it's okay.
yeah, just hold.
yeah.
Holding.
That seems to be the model. I got to ask you, Jason, about speaking of markets, crypto, NFTs, all this stuff. Where's sports cards right now? Because we're going to dive in to you are the sports card guy. We're lucky to have you on and peg you with questions that you probably answer often, but maybe most people don't know. Tell me about the sports card market. What's happening at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been kind of wild. Obviously, we know about the run leading up to COVID. There was a massive scare when COVID hit. Nobody knew. I guess not even with cards, with the whole world. Like I personally thought the world was going to crash, cards were going to crash, and there was a few scary weeks, and then boom, like the craziest card boom in history for like the next year. Everybody got on board. Once the world kind of started to open up back a little bit, everything leveled off a little bit, but it's still, everything was 20, 30x what it was, a few years prior. So I guess once a few people started going back to normal everyday life and realizing like, holy shit, I bought this card for 15,000, it's worth 200,000. Like the reality check was like, okay, like I can pay off my house or pay off whatever. So some people cashed in, the market kind of settled in, and that's where we're at right now. I mean, we're still like, I would say like 30x is now a 10 to 15x. So, um, yeah, still super happy. Like it's honestly kind of reminds me of crypto. Like Bitcoin hit like what 60 some thousand, and then everybody panics like it's at 40,000. Like oh my god, and it's the same thing. Like to use it a good example, a Jordan rookie in a 10. That card peaked at 700,000. It's down to 300,000. So that sounds like, oh my God, like that's crashing. But really, in reality, 2, 3 years ago, that card was 35,000. So overall, I think it's super healthy. So some crazy news that just happened. Fanatics purchased tops. I don't know if you did. I'm not sure if you knew this. So Fanatics is going to start producing cards. There's been some people that love hate this, so like that's all irrelevant. That's going to get good and bad. But the positives that are going to happen from this is Fanatics is going to start advertising during the Super Bowl, during NBA TNT games, like on the score table. You're going to see ESPN and then Topps baseball cards or Topps basketball. You're going to be at the Super Bowl and you're going to be watching a commercial during the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden there's going to be a commercial for trading cards. So I think we're going to see another run up like once that happens, just because a lot more people are going to get involved and It's still early. Like we're bullish long term, like 5-10 years. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess
Just to, hold on. Let me, before you talk, JG, let me just say it's like the same thing with punks, basically. I mean, you go back a year ago and the floor was 20 ETH and Ethereum was not even 2,000. So you're talking like, let's say 70K for a floor punk, right? Probably at like the peak high, whatever, you're talking like 4K times, like it was 450 or 500K for a punk. And then now it's, it might be times,
there it is, 170.
yeah, now it's like 200K or whatever, or 170 because ETH has gone down. I mean, ETH probably went down 10% in the last 24 hours. So it's down from like 200 to 170. But yeah, it's same thing basically. It's like 50% or a little more off peak, but it's still up quite a bit from where it was like a year to 2 years ago.
Yeah. What's like comparing cards to NFT is a perfect example because, if you bought the right cards, it's the same way. It's like, a Michael Jordan rookie in a 10 is the same as punks, where there's definitely stuff you could have bought that, if you would have bought a really shitty NFT project, those cards you might be down 80%. So it really depends on what you picked. Like if you bought crypto, apes, VFriend, stuff like that, you're sitting fine long term. If you bought some of these weird NFT projects, it's probably not good. So it's the same, very similar with cards.
I want to ask you about your strategy then. You have a massive collection and you're, I guess we could go to your website and kind of go through some of the stuff. Maybe you could talk to us about some of your favorite stuff and what you have. But like, is looking back on it, if you could do anything differently, would you say like, oh, I should just buy all the gem mint stuff and the best stuff? Or is it just part of who you are, what you do, the diversity, offering services, offering stuff so people, you can get a hold of things? Like, it seems like kind of in a way like, oh, why wouldn't you just buy Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? Or why wouldn't you just buy Jordan and Brady, like all only, right? Could you maybe talk on a little bit of that? And do you have any regrets, or do you think that that's just the nature of it? You're just always diversifying.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing is you can kind of gamble as much as you want to gamble, right? So like I think it's pretty obvious that the money you spend on like a Jordan, a Brady, a Babe Ruth, a Jackie Robinson may not have like 100x potential short term, but long term it's going to be a much safer than, like Zion's a perfect example. Like 2 years ago, Zion was like one of they were talking, this guy might be the face of the NBA, and still hasn't played. Like his stuff has dropped a lot, but at some point it's going to become a buy because the risk and the reward will just make sense, right? Like I'm actually hoping he just keeps dropping, and then at some point you dump a couple 100,000 into him, and then if he ends up being what they think he's going to be, you might 30x. But I also think that he might be the next Greg Oden, and if that's the case, almost any money that you put in right now is virtually going to go to zero. And it doesn't look like that right now because of all the hype. But at some point, next year there's going to be a new guy that comes along, whether it's like Bronny Jr. or whoever it may be, and like Zion, if he just doesn't play. So obviously, anybody's still in the league, there's injury risks, and it's just it's a lot of gamble. He put on a ton of weight. Luka put on a ton of weight. Luka was playing like shit. So I think everybody.
Luka played himself into shape though. He's balling out last I checked, but yeah, he started the season pretty weak.
He looks amazing now. I mean, so like his stuff dipped. It was. I mean, I bought some stuff when it dipped, but overall, I just think, you kind of got to go in before you buy anything and just figure out like, where's my risk reward? Like for me, it's like 80% super conservative, like the best of the best. Because let's face it, like no matter what happens with the economy, and the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. So the really top rare one of one type stuff, I think is always going to be a desirable, and it's kind of always going to keep trickling upwards, in my opinion.
So I have a question for you about this with cards, with scarcity, right? Because you're kind of talking about scarcity. Like, I'm just letting the viewers at home know I got into cards a bit, and Koonce was my man. He helped me, piece together a little collection. So thank you, Jason. But like one of the things I noticed when I was doing it with him, and then I even bought a few things my own on eBay, and I started to even get into like checking how many of a certain kind, because they'll say that. it seems like when you go back a certain number of years, not even necessarily to like the 90s or older, but even like guys like Giannis rookies who have been around for almost 10 years. And then it obviously is even more when you go back to like 20, 30 years. Maybe cards weren't as popular. So like you go to the popular kind of rookie, there like aren't that many graded like 10s or 9s or something. So it's actually something that there's some sort of scarcity. But then sort of my question is like for newer cards, because cards have blown up, it just seems like, you go back and like a Luka rookie, there's like, I don't know, there's like 20 different kinds of prisms, and like it seems like the numbers it's a lot of even like 10s and 9s because now people are being careful with it. So like how do you buy newer guys? Like there doesn't seem scarcity. Like how do you approach that problem?
Yeah, it's a really good question because I mean comparing Giannis, so the Prism is like the kind of like the staple rookie, and then there's the exquisite and national treasure, which is the super rare jersey patch auto numbered to 99. But as far as the base goes, what like 2013 Giannis, they printed 50 times more Luka Prisms than they did Giannis, and they printed 3 times more Zion than they did Luka. So that's 150x Zion compared to Giannis of how much was just printed. So that is a major concern, and a lot of that stuff has dipped a lot because of the new stuff. There's just so much of it out there. So if you really want to invest in like really key stuff, you kind of got to go to the more expensive National Treasure, limited to the stuff serial numbered to 99. There's patch autos. It's expensive though. I mean, even
those Zions, I mean, they must have dropped a lot because that's what I'm saying. Like, it's crazy how much it is. So could if Zion ends up becoming the face NBA with that much supply, is it even going to be valuable, like the stock Zion cards, or not? Like,
so I'm scared. Like I think of the Prism, there's like 20,000 PSA 10s of the Zion.
I mean, so that's a lot.
It's a crazy number, and it is scary, and I am concerned about it. And I'm actually more concerned going forward with as popular it is that they're going to kind of repeat what they did in the early 90s and print even more this year and next year and next year. I guess
hold on. Before you continue, give a context. Like how many Prism 10s of the Giannis are there and how many 10s of like the MJ rookie, just so people know?
Yeah, so MJ, there's 319 10s.
Okay.
But also here's the difference too, is MJ, there's one key rookie. So like it's pretty obvious. Like you go in 86 Flair and there's one. When you're talking like Giannis and even more Luka Zion, there's all these different options. So like you can key in on one card and say there's 20,000, but there's also like a bunch of other cards to choose from. So I mean, it's
so
scary.
It's even more, really.
What about John Morant? Is there less of him? Is his more?
No, so people obviously in the beginning people were grading more Zion. So like it'll with as popular as Ja's been. But this is kind of an interesting. Like I was actually talking with Josh Luber's the new running the Fanatics division for the trading cards, but he made an interesting point. I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago, Ja had like this crazy dunk and crazy shot in the game. Like I don't know, Ras, do you remember that? Like it was insane.
Yeah, I saw the replay.
So the views on that were like 45 or 50 million. It's probably more now.
It's the most viewed ever clip or something, right? In the NBA,
it's got to be insane. So, I mean, when Josh and I were talking, he brought up a good point. He's like, I think we could still be getting started for the fact that if you think there's 45 million basketball fans, even if 1% collect, and you're already narrowing it down to like basketball fans, like 1%'s 450, 500,000 of Ja fans. So it could go either way. Like it's a lot, but at the same time, like it compares to like, what is it a lot really? Like compared to, if we have 15, 20 million people around the world collecting cards aggressively, then no, it's not a lot.
China and overseas really hasn't got into it yet. I mean, there's some. I remember those guys when we were at the National at the your booth you had set up. You were there more just flicking buyout whole booths, which was a fun thing to watch. But someone came and they scooped your whole Jordans, all your like dollar Jordans. Those guys, they probably did pretty well with that. The Last Dance came out, and they probably. Do you think they 20x'd on those dollar cards? Maybe
they made a killing. Yeah, they came up. I don't even think they asked for a discount. They just came up, bought every Jordan we had, and I'm sure they made a fortune off that stuff.
Yeah. I got to ask about NFTs. How has NFTs, NBA Top Shot, NFTs in general, they're so rare for soccer cards. How has that impacted the card world negatively, positively up to this point, and moving forward? What do you think?
So a year ago, or where we're 16 months, or wherever we're at now, like nobody knew what an NFT was, and we were on this like rocket ship to the moon. And NFT, in my opinion, was like cards were rocket shipping, and then NFTs came and just punched a hole in the gas tank, and started leaking gas like crazy. And I think a lot of money went into NFTs that probably would have normally went into cards. And although I'm a very strong believer in NFTs, I think 95% of those projects are going to go to zero. And I think a lot of people are going to get burnt. And so it's unfortunate. Some of it's, there's going to be some massive home runs. I'm not an expert in NFTs. I have some. I think I get it. But
I mean, I like your thesis. I think what it boils down to, it's my way of looking at it, and I believe pretty much the same thing you do. But to like break it down, it would be, it's like any collection has some scarcity because there's only so many of the collection, but there's no scarcity to like the number of collections. And in fact, because it's been blowing up so much, people will just like keep making, collections like, oh, this new thing, an artist, because it's not that expensive to do it, right? And if the collection does well, you can make a lot of money. So I think it's like one of those things, like, yeah, maybe the amount of cards are blowing up because of that. Does it mean that the Jordan rookie is going to be worth less? No, it doesn't mean that. Just because there's a bunch of stuff, it doesn't mean that. And I think it's like a similar analogy to NFTs, like the really popular ones that have achieved some sort of status because people love it, historical importance for NFTs or whatever, will have value. But it's like they keep dumping all these projects at some point. Like there's just not enough demand for, say, whatever, some other project. So it won't be worth anything. So yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah. But and I think, and here's an interesting thing too, like kind of playing off that is like, like kind of, let's just say like the Jordan 10 and CryptoPunks, when they get to a crazy level and then people sell and then some people panic and they don't realize that you can't blame people that like, if someone bought a CryptoPunk for like 1 ETH and all of a sudden they're cashing out at 100 ETH, like, and same thing with Jordan, like if you bought a Jordan 10 for 20 grand and it gets to like 400,000 or 500,000, all those people that paid 20 grand, like they're gonna just cash out into the money. So but the new people buying those, buying the CryptoPunks or buying a Jordan 10, like they're kind of resetting a floor. So those are people that are investing in this asset now that like their cost is let's just say $250,000. It's not 20 grand. So like these people have a new mindset. Like so there'll be like a few months or 6 months or a year of like rebalancing. But that person now is like, okay, I'm into this for $250,000. I think this is $1 million piece, and it just kind of resets the floor, even though it's like shaky during that process. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Makes a lot of sense. I also would say I think one of the biggest underrated things is technology for sports cards as well. That there are going to be these new apps and technologies, and I know we have a very good mutual friend that is into this, and there's a bunch of them, right? There's probably numerous products like this where you'll be able to get, because part of the problem is like I use vintage card prices and I have a subscription, but like I'll look it up, I can kind of see the history. I know you're pretty good at knowing the price of cards or whatever, but when you can like scan it, when it's quick, it's easy, it's like a plug-in and you can see how much it's worth, you can easily sell and trade and know the market. I think that's going to help a lot. And I think that we're still like, because I remember again Beckett as a kid, that was how I looked at my cards, right? That was like once a month. You press the thing, you look at it, and it was like archaic. It's like using an encyclopedia versus using Google now. That type of difference, but it seems like it's only getting better. What do you think the technology could do for the industry if it gets what is possible here in the near future?
So it's funny because I haven't looked at a Beckett in 20 years.
Those might be worth artifacts too. Are those worth money? Like original Beckett's? Are those
like magazines in general? Like we get probably 70 to 100 collection calls a week, and 90% of it's total junk. And a lot of people have like old magazines or newspapers. That stuff just it's bulky and heavy. Nobody wants to display. I can't tell you how many. Like I got a whole garage full of Sports Illustrateds. It's like, all right, like yeah, not interested. But like there's probably like 10 companies right now fighting. It actually hurts dealers. Like someone like me, like back 20 years ago at a show, it was really it came down to who could calculate quicker. And when you're trying to like buy out an entire booth, you might catch somebody off guard where they may have 100 grand worth of stuff, and you say, hey, do you want to leave the show early? I'll give you 65,000 for everything. And all of a sudden, they don't have like instant, pricing at their fingertips like they do today. And like I said, it's only getting better, and it just kind of makes it, I guess more of even playing field to. It's good. Like there should be, the information at your fingertips to tell you exactly what stuff's worth. And the more volume, the more liquidity will help. It'll be nice when you have an asset and you could sell it immediately and not necessarily have to, wait or take, 20% off just to move it quickly.
Makes sense.
Real fast, that basically the phenomenon or the process that you described, I mean, I actually think that applies whatever we're talking about, cards and NFTs, but I've used that same logic basically talking about Bitcoin. And I've even read, I think it was like Ben Hunt or whatever has written an article about how he talks about how Bitcoin's kind of like art, or like the first ultimate NFT in a certain sense. But it's like the same idea, right? Like, because you were asking me on our previous pod, Jeff, right, what the Coin Rivet one about it. And it's like, oh, hey, we've been in this range. I mean, the way the range ultimately plays out is exactly the process you described, which is in the 5 digits here, like 30 to 60K, it's cycling hands, right? And like people who have been in Bitcoin for 5+ years and bought it for 5,000 or 1,000 or even earlier, they're going to be like selling some here, right? But just like you said, people who are buying Bitcoin at like 30, 40, 50K, like they have a different idea. And like as it cycles, like there's always going to be some stream of people that sell, just like the same with cards. But then at some point, if there's anything that causes the demand to rise sooner or later, there aren't that many people who really want to sell here anymore. And that's when like things go to kind of the next level. And it's like that same phenomenon exists. That's like sort of the way I think about Bitcoin long term as well, that you're just talking about. It's, it's a very insightful, I think, price action mechanism. But yeah.
100%. I mean, just makes sense. I think it's weird how people, at least in cards, and this may happen in Bitcoin too, but like when someone does take money off the table, there's this weird like anger, like I thought you were gonna hold, and it's like I'm holding 90%, but you got to understand, like, hey, if I bought something for 3,000, it's worth 300,000 now. Like, you can't blame somebody for
no
taking chips off the table, and so it's weird, but.
Well, listen, I gotta ask you, because I know this was a thing, and now it's becoming a big thing. Grading. You have a company. This is ISA Grading, which is, if you could maybe explain about the grading system for some that don't know. There are a few kind of people might recognize PSA. There's a few others. So tell me about this. What is this? What's going on with your grading site, and how does grading work?
Yeah, so I made a large investment in ISA Grading for a lot of reasons, but ultimately, yeah, the main grading companies are PSA, SGC. But what we noticed during COVID was the backlogs were crazy. Like currently, to submit to PSA, they still have cards from a year to a year and a half ago. So there was this huge need for people to submit and get stuff back in a timely manner. Price for grading has kind of gotten out of control. So there's never an illusion that our stuff will eventually, I guess maybe hopefully one day, but it's not that it's going to bring PSA type numbers, because I don't expect an ISA Jordan 10 to, right now with bring whatever a Jordan 10's worth, $250,000. But on cheaper stuff, there's a huge arbitrage in. So a couple of great examples, like I don't know, Bull for basketball. He was like as hot as could be like a year ago. So Bulls. Everybody, do you remember Bull? Do you know Bull? Do you guys know Bull?
Manute Bull, 7'7".
I've heard the name. He's Manute Bull's kid. I remember Manute Bull. Yeah. Okay.
So he got super hot last year, and his stuff went from like his 10 went from like $30 to $400, and everybody was like prospecting. So hundreds of thousands of like bowl cards went to, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but tens of thousands of bowl cards get sent to PSA. So then the guy falls off the face of the earth, right? So
What
all
happened?
these cards are, I don't know. He just didn't. I mean, I think he's still in the league, but he never panned out. So all these cards are sitting there, and you still have to pay the 20 to 30, whatever you're grading, and you get these cards back a year later, and you're like, holy shit, what am I going to do with, bowl cards? Another Henry Ruggs. Remember Henry Ruggs, the Las Vegas wide receiver?
Oh
I
yeah.
know a lot. Yeah, like the stuff was worth whatever. So the point is, if you had a grading company, like our turnaround times for ISA are like 2 to 3 weeks. So you can prospect. It's great for like baseball rookies, right? Like you don't know what somebody's going to do in 8 months or a year from now. Obviously, the good stuff you can grade with whoever. Almost like it's good to have. Like if you're sending in Kobe's or Jordans, it doesn't matter if they take a year or whatever. Even though in general it just sucks to have to wait a year to get your cards back. Like nobody wants to wait a year. But when you're gambling and you're prospecting, like, and you don't have and nobody has, most people don't have unlimited bankrolls, right? So you need to get stuff in deals, turn it over, get it graded, and try to make. You might make less than PSA or SGC, but you're able to turn the money over, go buy more stuff, and possibly cash out in a peak where, like let's say a PSA 10 bowl might have been, $400 or whatever it was. Even if an ISA 10 was half of that, $200, and you were able to liquidate and then put it into something else, if you're just getting that stuff back now, the card's worth $10. So there's a lot of different situations where time definitely matters, getting stuff back quickly. And we just saw with the way the market's growing, there's so many people coming into the hobby that the grading companies just can't keep up. So there is just a niche to have a number 3 or number 4 company.
Do you think that affected a bit the process that PSA, which was the maybe the most well known and respected, the process took over a year? Do you think that actually contributed to the hobby kind of cooling off a bit, or people getting frustrated? Because like I personally have been very fortunate. I know Rast, with you as well. Like I buy my cards, 95% of my cards I've gotten from you, and they're graded, right? So like I don't have to deal with that process. But seeing how tilting that process is of like, I don't crack wax and then send it in, but that like to wait a year, I mean, that's got to be a killer to like for people to like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to like get cards, buy them and out of the packs and then send it in. And it's going to take me a year. It's almost like insane.
It's so frustrating to the point where like I still have stuff in there from, like I'm getting back now from a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what I sent in. Like it shows up and I'm like, I don't remember this stuff. Like, I'm like, why did I send it? Why did I spend, $5,000 in grading Tyler Hero cards? And then I'm like, oh yeah, he was like super hot a year ago. Or I'm looking at some of the shit. And I'm just like, what was I thinking?
Right.
But
well, it's not even what you're thinking. You're just sort of, it doesn't matter what you were thinking because it's like it's almost like buying Ethereum or Bitcoin today. And then like in a year, it's like when you get to touch it or do something, you can't decide to whatever. So yeah, it's pretty.
For sure. I mean, it's annoying for just like a private owner, but that type of turnaround time for a business owner is like a year. I mean, things can change a lot, right? Like that kind of just eliminates your liquidity, your ability to like sell something. The bulls, obviously like an amazing example, but just a lot of stuff in general. I mean, you could have decided 8 months ago, like I'm going to get off this hero stuff, but now you forgot you even sent it in, right? So,
but it might work the opposite too, right? There's got to be some that's sort of gone the other way a little bit, or not,
I mean, I'm sure there has, but it seems like for the most part, like everything that was hot a year ago is less hot. Like Zion was super hot, Jazz, but like I mean, it's still though, like PSA obviously has a huge market and a huge need. Like if you have a super nice Jordan rookie, of course you're going to pay. Like it probably costs anywhere between $1,000 to, because also PSA also charges based off the value of the card.
Oh shit!
So if you do get a Jordan 10, like it costs you $1,000 just to submit it, and then if you end up getting a Jordan 10, they're going to hit you for another $25,000.
Wait, if you get a Jordan 10, they charge you $25,000?
I think it's like 10%. It's 10%. Maybe it's capped at 10,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like you'll get like after you get the grade. So yeah.
But the crazy thing about that is that that seems like a really messed up way to do business. Because first it seems like it incentivizes them to overgrade cards, and that right because of how much more expensive ones are, and then second, like it doesn't affect their cost at all, really, does it? I mean,
No, yeah, I mean, I don't think I honestly don't think they grade higher to get the like that's to get the more grading fee value. Like a lot of
yeah,
people, like that is a major like people bitch about that, but I don't think they're like, oh, let's grade this card a 10 to get an extra, whatever. Um, their argument is that they're guaranteeing this stuff, so they have a much higher insurance risk, grading a $100,000 card versus a $50 card. So I do get a little bit of the higher fees, but it just gets
wait, explain that. What do you mean they're guaranteeing it?
well, like hypothetically, if they damage it while they're putting it in a holder, like they're required to buy it back. I mean, there's just a lot of weird stuff that goes with it, but ultimately, like it frustrates the submitter, it frustrates everybody involved. Like you don't want to pay that kind of money to get a card graded, so it is what it is.
How accurate are those, like the grading? Because how many employees they must have? I mean, you've created this business, you're getting more inventory. How many people roughly do you know? Is that public information about work at PSA? Because I mean, like it seems like kind of difficult to train that many people to be able to do to tell an 8.5 versus a 9 or an 8.9 versus.
It is. They're pretty good. Like I think they have like 125 graders right now. There's some inconsistencies with like hiring new people and training them, but obviously like before for 20 years the main way I made a lot of money was through the inconsistencies of I would go buy 100 Jordan 9s that were really nice and crack them out, and maybe of those 100 Jordan 9s, one or two of them would be 10s. So theoretically, like I may lose 5,000 in grading fees, but I would make whatever the difference between a 9 and a 10 Jordan was. So, but I was one of a few people doing that. You go back 20 years ago, I could walk around and buy all really nice 9. Like people just automatically assume like, oh, it's a PSA 9. Like is what it is for life. I understood that, a guy grading a card on a Monday, just getting in off the weekend was like, oh shit, like, okay, 9 versus a guy who, on a Friday or, maybe a guy got lucky with his woman the night before. He comes into the office, he's in a good mood. He's like, fuck, like, it's a 10. So like, there is the human element. Now you don't really see like, 7s to 10s, but a lot of times you see a really nice 9. If it's regraded several times, like there's a chance it gets a 10. And the difference between 9s and 10s sometimes, can be 50, 100x. So the risk reward was like the upside was just so huge and the downside was limited. And now there's so many people that do that, and all those cards forever that existed that were, let's just say they were like a 9.9, even though they only grade, 9 and 10, but like a 9.9 still gets a 9. But I would basically try to find cards to, in my opinion, look like 9.9s or 9.8s. And I knew if I cracked out all that stuff, like I was going to get some 10s. And a lot of that stuff doesn't exist anymore because it's all been cracked out and tried. And so many people are doing it where it used to just be me and a few people. And, so that game's over.
What is the most expensive? The Honus Wagner, I believe the Arizona Diamondbacks owner owns it. What did he pay? What is it worth today? And what do you think it actually was worth, like even or before with COVID, sort of like at the peak? So yeah, where are those two prices?
Yeah, so the 8, like everybody who's owned that card has always made money. I know like Gretzky owned that card in the early 90s, and him and the McNeil or McNull, whoever his name is, they own the Kings together. They paid $450,000. And they flipped it for $500,000. That card today is probably worth 30 to 40 million.
Really? I thought he bought it for like 3, didn't he?
Yeah. It's an insane card. Yeah, PSA. It's funny if you look at my social. So there was a 3 for sale over the summer, and a 3 went for I don't know. Go to the Otia one. It's a super funny video. But there was a 3 for sale, and I think it went for 6.6 million. But we did a funny comedy sketch with it.
Because this card is like super rare.
Go to Instagram. Go to my Instagram.
This card is super rare. Koonce?
Yeah. Like, so the theory behind it is like there's like 27 to 40 around, and there's the story that goes around, and then there's the real story. The story is that he didn't want his name associated with tobacco because kids saw it. Maybe it's not on there. It should be towards the top. It should be go to the top. It should be a video of basically me sprinting away with right there with, see, I'm holding. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so I think there's 27 to 40 of them that exist, and Honus didn't want his name associated with tobacco, so they pulled the card. The real reason was he wanted to get paid more for it. I don't think he gave a shit that the kids, were going to see him associated with tobacco. So it's a super rare card. There's 3 cards in that set that are just like,
bumped into the guy too.
Yeah.
Strong. So that's okay. That's the story behind it. So the guy wasn't like an unbelievable player. Like he was.
He was.
He was.
He was a Hall of Famer. Like he's a great player. But so
Right.
it's the rarity. Like, I mean, for someone to say that there's, I don't know, let's just say there's 30 of them that exist, whatever the number is, 30, 40. It's just, there's not a lot of them out there.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so ISA grading, and what would be the least amount of money you would send a card in?
I know I need to get more.
What would make sense if you think your card is a 10 or whatever, a 9 and something that's worth, like, what is the minimal amount you would send in a value card at for that?
It honestly, it depends. Like there's people that are trying to make money, and then there's like just a collector. We have a ton of collectors with ISA that just love the slab, and they want their collection all to be in sync. So they're just happy, like, they get 7s and 8s, and they just love having the stuff slabbed. Like there's just something about having a card slabbed.
Yeah, of course. It's
right?
like it's exactly you got to have it. If you want to have it in like a collection. That brings me to my next. Okay, how much is it?
Hold on, wait, real fast before we interruption. Nothing to do with Koonce. What are you drinking?
I was drinking wine, but I finished. So before I got on the call, I took. Took a gummy, and then me and my wife started like, this was the last of the bottle that we finished off. So
he's all out.
I'm all out, dude. I'm good though.
Right.
She's in the house. I'm in the gym. I got like, I'm playing with poker chips that, Ras got me, or Jeff got me these amazing. How cool are these?
Those are nice, man. Those are the big ones.
Oh, Jeff, you bought them the poker chips?
I got them the set.
Okay.
Yeah, you got we're the plaques. Those are the real thing. No,
yeah, we pull the plaques off for when Ras is in town.
I love it. The bigger one. Well, so what is the minimum cost?
Listen, man, I'm good playing cheap stakes poker. Listen, I play poker for all kinds of stakes.
I'm telling you.
I played this game I was just telling you about, the 5 and 10K limit, 1 and 2K, this 200K cap. Okay. Man, dude, I played $1,500 buying WSOP events. I went and played $1 and $2 and $1 and $3 a couple times with I'm friends now with this guy, Michel Pereira. He's a UFC fighter. We like showed up at the Aria and played like a couple hours, or I played a home game with him once.
Rest of your
full range. We could bust it out and play a $30 freeze out. You, me, and Jeff.
What 1-2 is the funnest game, because like you want to win. The thing is, at every level you want to win. It doesn't matter if it's 1-2 or 500, 1,000. I mean, sure. Jeff's playing some of our games. They're fun games. We need to fly you out here.
It is fun. Well, how much does it cost? If you had a card you like and you're going to spend it, what are you going to pay if you just get a slab at an ISA? Like, how's it work?
The best service, like, you can pay to have it back in a couple days, but really the best is $20 20-day. And the 20-day service right now is running like 13 business days. Like, it's everybody gets their stuff back. We haven't had one person that wasn't like ecstatic. It's been kind of wild.
Is there a bulk? Like, what if you like ripped wax in a soccer box, and you're just like, I want to get it all slabbed? It's like you're punting money because some of those cards aren't worth much. But like, if you sent in 500 or 1,000 cards, is there a discount or no?
Yeah, of course. If you send in 500 or 1,000 cards, we have a little bit of a price break. But honestly, material is so expensive these days. Like, it costs like, between paying the right people, like, I've trained the grading team, and you got to pay people good money, right, to grade cards, and it's kind of tedious work. Like, you're under a lamp 8 hours a day in a dark room. You need people that you trust. You got to pay them real money, and material costs are through the roof. It's impossible to get stuff here. So it's actually pretty expensive to grade stuff. Like, a lot of people think, oh, like it costs $1 to grade it. And it's just no, like it's expensive there's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, $20 a card, 20-day. Of course, if you have a lot of stuff, we'll give you a little bit of a break.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, we got to talk about the PSPC, the 25K. How often do you think about that? Because Ras and I both played that tournament. You prove you're better at your hobby than our profession. It was 5 million to first. You final tabled. I think you were chip
I
leader.
remember this is the only time I went out to the Bahamas. I was there with JG, right?
Yeah, the overlay was so big, like we had to play. And I love tournaments, and I would play more. And the problem is I have 4 kids now, and in tournaments, like if you bust in the first couple of days, it's like super frustrating because like the time lost it's a lot of money.
Yeah. You're also out in Detroit. There's probably not a lot of tournaments that happen there. It would maybe be different if you were like in Vegas and you could show up and play like a 5K once in a while.
Oh yeah, I would.
They can't have too many there, but
yeah. I mean, the Bahamas was something too. Like it was where I was in the mindset. Like I actually talked with. We all know. We'll give Elliot Rowe a plug right now, but
go Elliot.
Elliot Rowe, just the greatest. I talked to him a couple days ago. Actually, he just puts you in such a happy place. I love Elliot. No, like we kind of mentally prepared. Like I was going to take like a week and just dedicate it to poker, and I was like, if I normally book one-way tickets everywhere. Like if I go to Vegas, I'm booking a one-way ticket. I could be in Vegas for, 8 hours or 5 days. So this was the first time that I booked like literally a flight a week apart, like to the Atlantis. So I was like, if I bust the first day, I'm just going to enjoy a week vacation at the Atlantis. And I think that helped a lot, knowing like I was there and just committed. And I'm like, let's play the best poker we can and see what happens. And we got lucky a few times.
What place did you get? I forget. Remind me.
5th.
That's okay. Yeah, that's right.
And you got 5th, and you were chip leader. I mean, it's a pretty surreal score, 7-figure score. You almost didn't go down, and also you got the wrong room initially. I think you dropped the deuce and Jason Koon. Could you tell us what happened there?
Dude, it's just you can't even make this shit up. It's so funny. I remember like I go to check in and I was like checking into the room and they acted like they're like, no, Mr. Koon, we already. I go to give him my license, my credit card. He's like, no, we already have everything. I'm like, how can you have everything? And I had another friend with me. So I was like, maybe he checked me in somehow. And he's like, he literally gives me room keys. He's like, you're good to go. Like I didn't give him a credit card. I didn't give him a license.
Oh,
and
wait, he had already checked in or no?
I don't know what the deal was, but it was such a bizarre scenario that I remember thinking like this can't be right. But we had a friend down there. I was just like, okay, maybe he checked me in. And so I go up to the room, and I go to the bathroom, and it didn't smell pleasant. And so then our friend my buddy calls and he's like, hey, where are you at? And I said, I'm in the room. And he goes, no, you're not. And I was like, wait. He's like, I'm down in the lobby. Come down, and we sorted it all out. And I actually talked to Jason about like we laughed. It was really funny. We laughed about it, but the whole Jason Koon.
They checked you into the wrong room, and Jason Koon, a decent poker player. I think that's an understatement of a lifetime. Great player. You actually outperform all of us and the real Jason Koon poker player. That and people are messaging him. I think right, like congrats or texting, and like people were like telling him like, oh, you're at a final, the special 25K anniversary, 5 million first. Good luck. So yeah, that was people were buying action on Stake Kings. It was him.
Yeah, I think it was like the greatest deal in the world. I sold a small piece on there just to have like some fun. The other funny thing is like there's so many good stories about that weekend. Is we have a mutual friend that's like, I won't say his name, but we know who we're talking about. And this guy is probably the nittiest, tightest person in just life, right?
Oh yeah.
And he gets a piece from you somehow. He gets a piece from Ras, and then he holds off on me because like he thinks there's no EV there.
And we know him because of you. The best part.
And then he just goes off on like you guys for just like playing like shit and how. Then he tells me, this is the greatest thing, is he tells me that he knew I was going to final table, but he didn't want the 100, whatever the percentage was going to be. He's like, like I can't even tell the story because it's so ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, he didn't want to take the money from you. Yeah, but yeah, that's our boy. All right.
Yeah, he wanted to take the money from us, but not from you.
Yeah, like it was like, and he didn't understand. Like, he's like, would you trade with Brian or would you trade with Jeff? I'm like, I would trade up to 99.9% of my action with either of these guys. Like if we played this tournament out 1,000 times, I would trade as much as they would let me.
Right.
And so
we got a little swap in there. That was good. You did well, man. You showed out for the group. That was a fun sweat. Big 5 million up top from 25K, no joke. And what is your poker ability these days, Jason? How much poker are you getting to play?
We play a pretty fun home game. Like I said, it's just I'm at the point now where I'd rather just like hang out with friends and play and just enjoy myself. Like the stakes I need to play. It's kind of weird to say it like this. The stakes I need to play to feel a rush, I'm probably not good enough to play in those games unless they're it's the right people. Then I feel like I'm okay. But like if I'm sitting with one of you guys, like that's that's not good for me to play there for 20, 30 hours. So, but at the same time, like for me to go sit and play 25, 50 and win or lose, whatever, it's not really gonna get excited either. So I'm more than happy just playing a small game with friends and just going all in every hand. I'd much rather just do that.
Yeah, and then I found the same thing. It's like when you kind of jump down small enough, then at some point it doesn't matter how small it is, and it's almost nice to have it be super small, so you just like super don't care. Not that like say 25-50 and you lose 10K, or it's like 2-5 and you lose 1,000. Like there's no material difference to your net worth between 10K and 1,000 really, but you still feel like, wow, 10K, like I could do something in the real world with that, as opposed
You're getting
to
harassed by your significant other.
So like, yeah, and at some point, yeah, just playing poker for fun is fun. Like I've found that myself in the last like 5 or 6 months, and like it's fun to just go fire it up with the boys or whatever and drink while you play. And if you feel like running some stupid insane bluff, you just do it. Like,
of course,
whatever.
Well, the truth is, of course, like if you win 30,000, I mean you're happy, but like you're just kind of like whatever. But if you lose 10K, you're like, shit, that kind of pisses me off. Where like a smaller game, you win or lose $1,000, you're like whatever. Like you can rationalize it as just a fun night out. And
entertainment. I mean, you treat everybody to dinner, or you go to a nightclub, or there's a bunch of things where you could be spending hundreds or like $1,000 or something.
That's the last time, Jeff. You asked me. You go, when's the last time you've talked with Brian? And it was we were at Sushi Samba. Like, was that a month or two ago? No, how long was that?
World Series, so November.
World Series, yeah,
November. Okay,
three months ago.
God, time flies, man.
4 months ago. Yeah, it does. The way it's almost the World Series again. It's literally like it's in May. Will you play anything this year, Jason?
I want to so bad. It's just I can't rationalize. Like the main event's so. I mean, minus the percentage they take is absurd, but obviously if that's an event you want to win, like or play, that's the one you want to win. But to dedicate that much time, like if you play for 6 days and I don't want to downplay how much money 50 or 60 grand is, but if you play for a week or 9 days and you end up winning, coming in like 88th place and winning 62,000, it's kind of frustrating to think like I could have put in 100 hours of work, and to get that club.
It is a big commitment. It is. You are really cutting off like that's why it's tough, because like there's
could be the right thing isn't to play the main. Then it could be to come in and pick like a time when there's a couple other tournaments and you're just like, I'm going to play for a week and I'm going to get in however many tournaments I can during this week.
Yeah. Or a 10K 6 max or something fun.
I was going to fly in and play the 25K PLO, and then something came up last minute. But that's a fun event. Like I love high low. Like the 50K for me is like total like horrible bad EV. But if I could run good, maybe like I'm sure I could compete, but I'm definitely not. That would be a fun game. That'd be a fun tournament to play.
Yeah, you
Especially
got
if
that Millie locked up. You got a Millie, a little bit of poker plus to sprinkle around. I mean, Poker Go also. Rest. You were just there. You got. I think you chopped at 10K. I mean, they have like 10Ks going on, 25Ks at Poker Go, which is like it's fun. It's really nice, and there's like it's a one-day event.
They have these 1 days. I mean, there's tournaments like this whole month in Vegas. I think there's tournaments right now, but I haven't played anything this month.
Yeah, there's some fun. What do you prefer, Jason? If you had the time for 2 days, would you rather play like a great cash game for a couple of days, or would you rather play a tournament?
If I had the time, I'd love to play a tournament. Like I think tournaments are so much fun and like so in the beginning stages of tournaments, it's just kind of boring, but like until you obviously both you guys have been there way more than me, but like the excitement level, you can't really explain to somebody like what it feels like when you're deep in a tournament. Like it's just it's unexplainable. Like that thrill is when you're down to 50, 27, final table, you can't recreate that adrenaline rush. So
Yeah.
like so money aside, like just chasing that win is like even if I was like a billionaire, I would still just love to play tournaments and go to try to win and have that excitement level of running.
I think
deep.
you're a favorite to be on the circuit at some point. You got a lot of rugrats running around, but once I think everyone's out and you kind of get down, I could see you in the high roller series in like 10 years, 15 years, just mixing it up out there on tour.
Once the kids are out of the house, so we actually talked about this summer. I'm trying to convince my wife to rent a house in Vegas for like a month, and she's like, I mean, she hasn't said no. So
okay, so it's on the table. There you go.
It's on the table.
You might set up shop. How hard is it for you to be mobile with what you do? Is there work you could do productively while you're out there? Is it kind of difficult?
Yeah, I mean, I can work from anywhere, but yeah, it's hard to be away for that long. I mean, a month would be insane.
All right, hey, I want to know at some point, because this is actually something that Jason and I talk about quite a bit, but I feel like it's super, super necessary and appropriate for our podcast, would be discussing the state of the NBA a little bit. I think that could be fun.
I feel like we've went down like 3-4 hour rabbit holes before.
Yeah. Jason and I have had phone calls for like hours talking about it or whatever. We had some back and forth. Oh, who do you want to bet on these playoffs or whatever? I will say this year it's the first year in like 6 years or something that I didn't do like fantasy. Like I've been doing Carrie Cass's a little like fantasy NBA, and I didn't do it. So I statistically and whatever, I'm not following as closely. I mean, that said, I still know what's going on, kind of. There was the trade deadline was like pretty interesting. I think it shook up a couple of those teams out east, but and then there's obviously a bunch of injuries or whatever. But like, so looking at the conferences, who do you think? Because I have Jeff, maybe pull up like ESPN, pull up like the standings or whatever, so people can see that.
Okay.
Who do you think can non-ridiculously win a title? I kind of do feel like maybe it's more than normal this year, more teams than normal. And a lot of years it's only a small handful of teams. But who do you? That's definitely not it, Jeff.
No, but it's a playoff picture. It gives you the records. What do you want to see?
I have
that would be if the playoffs started today. Picture.
Yeah, which I think is relevant.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. All right.
So I have a crazy long shot, and it's obviously not gonna hit, but and whenever I run these by, like if Brian immediately says like, oh my god, I would take your action, like it scares me because it makes me feel stupid. So if I say this and he says I'll immediately take your action, then I feel like it's just totally drawing dead. But what do you think about? Okay, but like let's say, what do you think about the Clippers at 100-1 if Kawhi and Paul George somehow come back on time?
I heard that thrown around the other day.
Yeah. So I don't know the specifics of their injury situation, but I mean, yeah, if Kawhi and Paul George are back, you'd have to like that bet. I don't know what their injury status is. I know they've mostly been out, but I mean, they're a really good team with both Kawhi and Paul George. And, you know,
from what I hear is they're both could be back. And obviously if they don't make the playoffs, like, they're just going to let them rest. But like if they sneak into the 8th spot, or I think the 8th spot's the only thing they can get. Maybe they can get. I can't quite see the thing.
What do you mean they could get 9 or 10 though?
No. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. With this new, like the new setup is they could easily get the
play-in.
It's going to be hard for them to catch a non-play-in game because right now they're in 8th. They're 5 games behind the Nuggets, who are going to be hard to catch, who are in 6th. So, I mean, they're going to be playing away the whole time and probably at the bottom there. But, yeah, I mean, with Kawhi and Paul George back, they sneak in. Can they beat Memphis or Phoenix? I mean, this is another question, but, like, how good do you think Phoenix is? Because they obviously have the best record by a mile. But, like, I think a fully healthy Clippers maybe could beat them. I might just be out of touch. But
so one of the only reasons obviously, like, it's a long shot. But one of the only reasons I like that bet is – there's no like clear cut, like you said, there's 10 teams that could technically win it. So there's no clear cut, like absolute dominant team that's just going to come
like correct. This team where it's like, wow, it's just going to be really hard to beat them, giving them home court in a 7-game series. Like there's not a team this year where I'm like, oh, wow, for sure. I mean, the record wise and point differential wise, the strongest candidate is Phoenix. But I'm not that impressed by Phoenix. But again, like I said, I haven't followed quite as closely.
Is LeBron? Are they out? Like the
Lakers? The Lakers are a fucking mess. They're a hot mess.
Hot mess.
Are they?
Did I hear you say Memphis is the number 2 spot?
They're number 2. They just passed Golden. Well, here Golden State. I'll say this: Golden State has had a lot of injuries recently. Like Draymond's out. Clay has come back. They've actually done a little worse since Clay's come back because apparently they're working him into the rotation and giving him minutes, and he's actually not quite playing as well. But Clay being healthy, 2 months from now during the playoffs would be pretty huge for them. So they've just had. I looked at they have like half their starters have been injured recently, a bunch of crazy stuff. So Memphis has caught them. Memphis has been playing really well. But I don't know. I still kind of like Golden State if they're all healthy by the playoffs.
I like Golden State. I have a lot invested in Devin Booker, and like I've been preaching Devin Booker for years, and he still doesn't seem to get the love that I think he deserves. So like Phoenix is definitely for real. Like they're not just like a fluke one seed.
Because he dates Kendall Jenner, right? Like you would think that would like put him into like pop. Like why is he not getting love? Like what is he missing? Why what he's crushing? Like what's his deal? Why do you think he doesn't?
I don't know. He's got the look too. Like he's got that pretty hair. He just got the look.
Oh, like wait. I'm not trying to say Phoenix isn't for real. But if you look at the standings right now, Phoenix is like an 8-game lead off of like the team in second, which is basically the Miami Heat and Memphis have about the same record. Like, are they that much better than every other team in the league? Like, my answer would be no. They're a really good team. They're one of the best teams in the league. Are they like the clear-cut favorite ahead of everybody? I don't know. I don't know if I think they are.
Isn't Brooklyn?
That's my point more.
Are they the favorite to win the East? I saw that.
I don't think so. I was going to hit you with a crazy thing that, and I'm curious to see, because I think Ras really knows the NBA. So I'm just going to look for his facial reaction when I say this. I think the Nets are a better team without James Harden.
Yeah. I think that was
listen, I actually really love this trade as an NBA fan because I think it kind of makes both teams better. I think Ben Simmons, it's like he almost found one of the few teams in the league where he can compete for a title, and it like really makes sense as a guy who can't shoot and like isn't going to really create his own shot. Right. Because there's like two guys who are fucking amazing at that in Brooklyn. So, I mean, the team makes, and actually defensively, it almost like unlocks Brooklyn. They go from being a team that it's like you got Kyrie and Harden on at the same time to now the only liability is Kyrie. And you kind of have both Durant and Simmons as these like tall guys who can switch and play good D, Simmons especially. So it's like Brooklyn could be very good. And Harden makes a lot more sense on Philly where he's now not one of 3 scorers. It's like him and Embiid as like the best big little 1-2 combo in the league now, probably like since Kobe and Shaq or something if they're healthy. Like, you know,
it's an amazing trade, but I think long term it's a massive win for Brooklyn.
Yeah,
because I think that they picked up a bunch of draft picks. Like it
two
gives
first round picks, right?
Yeah, and then you have the chance of like the rebirth of Simmons, and it frees up KD. You know, to me, KD is the best player in the NBA. You know, he's top. KD, like, he's so good. I mean, there's so many good players, but
I agree with you. I think right now, if you're going to give me one guy on my team fully healthy, I take KD. Now, if you start to count things like age and injury factors or whatever, you can start making an argument for Giannis. But if you're just like one game, this guy, he's healthy, I take KD. Yeah.
What about? I'm not a huge NBA fan, but I've gotten much more into it this season. I will say the bubble is actually phenomenal. Like some of those games and the stuff. Like since then, I feel like there's just so many great players. It seems like there's a lot of superstars. I
heard Bill Simmons said on a recent pod that they're actually like serious about expansion, and that maybe fucking Vegas would get a team. Let's go.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Vegas getting a team would be incrable.
But it's because of that. There's like a lot of great players. Like the NBA's pretty much as stacked as it's ever been, and
I mean, almost every team except for the Pistons, of course, has like somewhat of a superstar. So, would you put Curry as your number 3 right now? Like, not including age. Would you say Curry number 3?
Man, let me. Who's like the top? We got Luka, Jokic. LeBron. We got. I mean, Durant.
LeBron's putting up numbers.
So
LeBron like factoring in, like he just doesn't break my top 5 right now. He's so good.
Yeah, I would put Curry around there. So like, I mean, Jokic is playing fucking amazing. I mean, he's just like this team of who the fuck is playing with him in Denver, and they just win. Like if you took Jokic off that team, that would suck, like ass. So
yeah, I agree.
Where's our boy Jamal Murray with that?
I don't know. Maybe I would put Jokic ahead of him today. Yeah, Jamal Murray's not even playing, dude.
I know. He's needling me right now because I have a ton of money invested in Jamal Murray.
I fired into him too. I fired with you on that, so I'm probably buried. What's he worth? He's not? Has he played this season?
I stopped looking, but I was telling like the best cards to get are like the National Treasures number at 99. I think I have like 33 of the 99 Jamal Murray. It's like it's just tilting.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, NBA, fair enough. All right, and Koonce, give me your Bitcoin prediction price before the end of the January 1, 2023. Give me your price, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just shoot out a number. Don't give it much thought. Just want to know where your head's at. I like to peg all the guests, see what they're thinking. We'll come
January 2023.
Yeah, give you a bonus if you're close. We'll give you
86,000.
And Ethereum?
If 5,300.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we see where they're at now. So you got, there's still a lot of time in the year. It's a difficult guess right now.
Yeah.
But fair enough. Okay. Well, go ahead, Rusty.
Jeff, baby, you were like running this like a freight train.
I'm trying to get
slow the roll, my man.
Dude, it's late.
You didn't want to let it simmer with it's like the 5-minute in and out, like
you want to
NBA discussion, like just get a taste.
NBA.
No rubber, just like just violated.
we didn't even really talk fantasy at all. We talked poker, we talked cards, we talked a little bit, but
ending the podcast. I'm just saying, let's move to the next. Go. Jason's got he covers a lot of ground. This guy's
Listen, Jason said he's good for a little while. Are you busy? You got to put Joseph to sleep. You could walk away for a minute and leave us.
Joseph already he woke up. He already did his rant.
Yeah.
Number two's down.
Okay. Koonce, fantasy, how are you doing in DFS? I saw a couple big scores this year. What's going on?
Football, I absolutely murdered it, and then basketball is impossible to beat. I tried and tried. I'm officially taking a break from basketball. Baseball, I'm excited for baseball to start back up. But this was like one of my best football years ever. It just, you know, like sometimes when you're at the table and you just know what the guy had, you just feel it.
Yeah.
Every week, it was like, it was a good run. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's a lot of luck involved.
Do you do fantasy, or you do DFS fantasy? You do both?
Both. I'm in a really big league, and it's some fun side action, and with a bunch of just total degenerates. And then daily too. Like daily was good.
Yeah, I have to imagine you're pretty beastly fantasy player.
Yeah. I mean,
are you in like a career fantasy league where you like the keepers, you keep guys from year to year, or no, you draft every year?
No, we redraft every year only because in the one league I play in, it's pretty crazy where at least one person every year gets so tilted and frustrated that like at some point in the league they're like, fuck everybody, I'm not playing next year, and then like there's 20 people lined up to take their spot. So I'm not going to say who the person was that did it this last year, but I'll tell you guys afterwards. But it was hilarious, like the outburst. It's a poker pro, you know who it is.
That's awesome. And what do you enjoy more? Do you like the daily or the league?
Oh, daily is way better because I ran decent in the league, but I mean you can get really unlucky in the league and then you're just sitting there just getting tortured all year long, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And you're kind of capped at what you can win. Tournaments in daily, like you can put in football, you can win 2 or 3 million, and like if you have the right lineup, you can. Basketball and baseball, you're pretty much capped like 152. Like if you completely sweep the board in NBA or baseball, you can win like 150, 200 grand, which is a lot of money. But it's not 2-3 million, which can happen in football. So if you want to bink, the nuts one weekend, you definitely want to do it in football.
Yeah, and you tell me about some heartbreak and some beautiful stories too. Give me like your one outers both ways. I've heard, I think one for sure where you like lost in a crazy play in the last second, like a lot of money, but have you also gotten lucky? What are some of those?
I mean, lucky and I guess in the playoffs, the Jimmy Garoppolo Kansas City game, everybody just completely stacked Kansas City, and I stacked Jimmy Garoppolo and Debo, and I also had like one or two of the big players from that game, from the Kansas City game. But basically, I still had a monster weekend. But if Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he was -1 in the fourth quarter. And if all he did was score, like it was like every time he threw like 20 yards, I was moving up like 100 grand. So in the fourth quarter, if Jimmy Garoppolo does anything, it would have been like the craziest pay. It would have been like being at going from 9th, 8th, 7th, and so I ended up finishing like 2nd, 3rd, 4th in every tournament, and I had a chance if the guy just drives down and does anything to completely have like one of those $2 million sweeps. And I was like, I was probably a favorite, and like the icing on the cake was he throws a pick at the end of the game, and like I watched my account go from like plus 178 to plus 94, so it's like $100,000 pick, just sit like that. It's frustrating because going into the fourth quarter, I was like, okay, worst case, this is going to be a monster, and I have a legitimate shot at $1 million or $2 million or whatever it was, and then the guy like throws for like 12 yards in the fourth quarter and a pick. So
that's pretty disgusting. Wow. Rast, what do you think? Fantasy thoughts? You don't do too much DFS, do you?
No, I don't play DFS. And like I said, this was the first year in a while I haven't even done my regular fantasy league. Nah. But yeah, I mean, I actually just pulled up right now the odds. So there's 5 teams that are like very close to win like the NBA championship, right? The 3 teams. So this isn't like Pinnacle. This is just some website, OddsShark, whatever. Pinnacle, actually, the odds are down right now. I went to them first. But so they have Phoenix, Golden State, Brooklyn plus 450. Who do you take out of those 3?
That's what I was saying. Brooklyn is like the favorite, man.
That's crazy. God, Ras is such an NBA fan. It's crazy. Like he just loves the NBA.
Actually, there's two sports that I follow: the NBA, and the one I've actually followed a ton in the last year or two is the UFC.
I love you. UFC's fun. Can I book everyone's Lakers actions at 20-1?
Oh,
That
yeah.
seems
It's actually 50-1 on this thing. Oh, it's 20-1 here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whatever you're looking at sucks, Jeff. We're not going to use that one.
okay.
Type in NBA championship odds and go to Odd Shark. Oh yeah, like that. But go to Odd Shark. Don't even put 2022. So okay, Phoenix, Golden State, Brooklyn. Who do you like out of them? Who do you pick?
Fuck.
Click on the Odd Shark. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn. I'm riding KD. If he stays healthy, I'm going KD.
Really? Though the problem with Brooklyn is they're in the playing game right now, and they're going to be away.
Are they? Are they really that far out? Oh my god!
Although away might not be that bad for them because of the whole fucking Kyrie mess.
Yeah, that might get fixed though. That should get fixed before
the playoffs. That'll be huge for them.
Yeah, I think it does.
Also, Ben Simmons hasn't played a game yet, and they did just wipe the floor with Philly tonight. He should be back soon now, because now they don't have to play Philly anymore. So maybe he's going to come back and play basketball.
I'm telling you, Brooklyn's the nuts. Brooklyn is they're such a better team without Harden. I really believe that. You can't have three. It just didn't fit. It didn't flow right. It was uncomfortable for me watching them, because when all three of them are healthy, it was like.
Well, they were only healthy for 16 games.
True, but it was just weird though. When they were healthy, watching it was all this uncomfortableness of who wanted to take the shot, and the ball should be in KD's hands. I don't know. I'm a KD fan. I'm a Harden hater. So
can we talk about the Michigan basketball game today? They're up by 17 with 11 minutes left. Did you see any of that, Koonce? Are you following this at all? That was crazy.
I turned it off. No, I don't want to talk about it.
It's maybe one of the worst losses in Michigan history. It was literally So, but you prefer
Brooklyn, huh?
I don't like him at 450, but at plus 450. But I
here's
like
the
him.
thing. Let's say Brooklyn wins. They're in the playing game. They win. It's probably going to be hard for them, given injuries and whatever, to get out of the playing spot. But even if they do get out of the playing spot and they get sixth, they're going to have to. Let's say they're sixth. They're going to have to beat probably Philly, Milwaukee, and Miami on the road.
That's a tough. It doesn't sound pretty.
But no, look at. To get up to number, they could easily get up to number.
But yeah, maybe they can just do it.
There's still enough games left.
Right? What's weird is this is the first time, and I feel like since Jordan, where the East used to be a joke, and the West was always the crazy, all 8 teams were insane. Yeah. And now, and remember the NBA in the East, it was 2 good teams and the entire East sucked. And now the East is there's a lot of good teams.
In some ways the East is just as deep, if not maybe a little deeper in a way. You go down it's the standings have changed a bit. If you look at the play-in teams, they have a little bit of a better record in the East, right? The Atlanta Hawks 31-34 at 10. Whereas New Orleans is 27-39. I don't know. Yeah, the East is filled out some. Some of those teams at the top of the East are really good. Milwaukee, the Sixers, and Brooklyn are. I don't know. They're better than the top teams in the West?
Give me the Lakers. What happened there? Because Westbrook they're giving them a hard time. But
I'll tell you what happened. LeBron forced the trade for Westbrook because apparently the management wanted to do a deal for Buddy Hield from Sacramento, but they gave LeBron what he wants, and LeBron is a shitty GM, and Westbrook was fucking the worst idea for their team, and they're just the biggest hot mess of all time because Westbrook can't play defense and he can't shoot. So why the hell? What purpose does he serve on a team with LeBron James, which pretty much everybody knew at the time, but LeBron did it. And now LeBron, they're not very good. And Anthony Davis didn't look that good this year, and he's been injured, which has also been a pretty huge deal for them, right? I mean, what do you think?
He's been injured his whole career. Yeah, I mean, like just LeBron. Yeah, it's a weird. It's it's just a weird.
Crazy though that they won the title. Like they snuck a title in there. Like LeBron got a title in LA. Because if he doesn't have that, like you're looking at a while since he had one, and it'd be kind of weird. But he can kind of. I feel like he can kind of get away with whatever there. And yeah, I don't know. It's just strange. It's strange to see them struggle that much. But yeah,
it'd be really fun. This is what we should do. We should do like a draft. Like we'll flip a coin, and the three of us or two, whoever wants to be part of it. I know, I don't know if Jeff can get away from South Florida with with the kid and the wife, but it'll be hard for me to get away too. But I say we draft. We each get a team, and then we each get a couple teams. And if one of our teams makes it to the finals, they have to buy courtside seats. Or sorry, the other people have to buy courtside seats for whoever's involved. It's easier with two people, obviously, but we could do it three-way. So like
wait. Okay, maybe we do this right now. What are we doing?
I mean, you scare me because you actually know what you're doing. But so like we go first pick, like we flip a coin, whoever has first pick. Like so, say I have first pick, I take Phoenix, like just and like I take my teams, right? And then you pick second, I pick third, you pick fourth, and if so, let's say Phoenix goes, and like whoever goes, the other person has to pay. So so if Phoenix goes and your team doesn't go, like if it's somehow a wash, well, like there's got to be some kind of way to gamble on this, but in a fun way. Where like
it's gonna most of the time not be.
The problem is it's during the World Series, right? That's the problem for us, because last year was actually the best year because the WSOP happened and not
the rest. You would go to a game. You could miss a game or two, or like a few days.
Yeah, I could go to a game. Yeah,
we were talking. We were trying to figure it out, but it's like I think especially if it's Phoenix, like
I'm down to do a fun draft. We could do
it. It'd be fun because like even when you lose, like you're losing is all right. Like you're paying for 2 tickets instead of 1, and you're going to a final. Like it's rather than just like like say give me your Bitcoin address or something. There's actually like something fun behind it.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I'm in.
I like that idea. You guys got to
listen. I'll do it with you, Koonce, even if Jeff doesn't do it. I'm in.
Well, I didn't want to speak for Jeff because I just felt like I just didn't think Jeff would want to do it, but I mean, I would definitely.
I'm not a huge basketball fan, but yeah, I mean, it's a real sweat. How much are courtside tickets in finals? They got to be like pretty expensive tickets, right?
I mean, that's the problem. Like, I would almost take Golden State just to hedge against the price of having to pay for tickets in Golden State.
Exactly.
So, like, there is a little bit of a strategy to it.
Yeah, because if you go to Phoenix, it's probably actually I don't know if that would be. There's definitely some examples where, to be fair, it's all going to be expensive. You think it makes that big a difference between Golden State and I mean, obviously, like maybe Charlotte or something. But even then, if it's a team that's less, there's still people.
Charlotte ain't making the finals. Don't worry about it.
I'm just giving an example of like I don't know, Cleveland.
No, but I think the ticket. Obviously, Cleveland would be cheaper, but I think the tickets in Golden State will be double what they would be in Phoenix.
That seems high. There's not a lot of court seats though. What do you mean? Inventory isn't it just high? Like
it would be expensive. It would be expensive. I mean, it could be
double seems crazy, but interesting.
You think more or less?
Less. I don't think it's double courtside Phoenix and Golden State. It can't be right.
I think double or more. Think of the amount of money in Silicon Valley. Like if people who don't even care about basketball could just go pay a couple $100,000 for a courtside seat and just and watch half the game, eat a hot dog, and then leave.
I don't know. Phoenix is not. They're not suffering there either, but it's definitely different. I think Memphis would be different. I think Memphis you'd see a big difference, but
yeah, man, Phoenix
too, but not quite. Like I mean. Anyway, we'll check it out. If you guys do a bet, let me know. Maybe I'll come and sit in the bleachers. I'm not.
How much are 2 courtside seats?
I think in Golden State, we might have to we might have to actually really think about this because I don't want
the strategy. If you get the flip, you could.
How much are they? It's like $20,000 for a seat.
No, more.
No, I think more in Golden State. Like we're like Memphis, it might be like $400 and and a hot dog. But
That's not right, man. Don't Memphis.
But Golden State, how much for a courtside seat?
40
to the
grand,
NBA
50 grand. I think it's
For one.
I think it could be up to 50. I think it could be.
Yeah.
So like we might have to like make an exception. Maybe like we just suck it up and go row 2 just to.
just
Yeah,
for
maybe.
a difference in
Yeah. Hey, baby, I lost a bet. I have to spend 100,000 to go to a basketball game.
To take my friend to a game.
She'd be like, "Get the fuck out of here! What are you talking about?"
I actually, no, Jason, I want to ask about March Madness. The game seem kind of crazy right now, basketball wise. Like it seems like there's so much parity. Like, do you have any feelings on that? Because it seems like I saw there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 seeds lost on one day. I mean, that's just like impossible. That's got to be like 1 in 10 million or something.
You mean in the Big Ten tournament or
no, like on like 2 or 3 weeks ago, the number 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 ranked team in the country lost on the same day. I mean, that's almost it's got to be impossible.
Yeah.
Never happened.
The opening weekend of the tournament is probably like the most fun. I think I'm going to be in Vegas the second week, like the 26th. Yeah. So I'll be there for round 2, but round 2 or round 3.
You're going to be in Vegas in like 2 weeks then?
Yeah, we'll get food.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
I'll be here. Food. This is going to be right before I go do the Triton commentary. JG and I actually are flying to Cyprus, but it's right before that.
Hopefully, what's going on in the world right now? I don't know what's going on. I mean, the last 2 have been canceled, and now there's
nothing's happening in Cyprus right now. So
I know that's like too close for comfort, though. I don't know if I'd want to be like like how I'd have to pull up a map, but how close is Cyprus to all the horrible shit going on?
It's in that region. It's
there's a buffer.
There's a buffer. I mean, Cyprus
is
a
buffer.
It's just I just don't. Yeah, I don't know if you want to be flying around over there. That's all. I just
I mean, you kind of want to be like when you're playing poker. You don't want like in the back of your mind. You don't want to be thinking of like some crazy.
I'm not worried about it.
We're doing commentary, Koonce. We're not playing, but
Cyprus is not going to be a target, but for Russia or the U.S., like nobody cares.
It could even be. You could argue it could be safer in Cyprus than anywhere else. That's
all right.
Wait, hold on. So you said you're a UFC fan now. Like, how big a fan? Like, do you watch all the pay-per-view cards? Do you watch the fight nights? Yeah. Okay, yes. So you watch.
This card was great. Like this was free money. Kobe was free money, in my opinion. But I also know I
actually didn't bet that fight. I went 2 for 2, but I didn't bet that one. I said if I was gonna bet, I was gonna bet Colby. I don't want to lay 3-1, but I would have bet Colby. But
I got it at like minus 280, and the only reason I bet it, and I'm not crazy, but I bet it fairly decent was, and I absolutely hate laying. Like I don't mind laying 2-1. I don't mind laying like minus. That's kind of like my max. Like I'll do like a minus 210 once in a while. When you get up to a minus 300, it just sucks, right?
Well,
it's no.
Sometimes it's worth it.
It is. It depends. But the only reason this time is what's his name was he's been at all these card shows and like I don't know if this is inside information or what, but I've seen this guy. He has been like just living the dream, signing autographs, hanging out, and doing all this like non-training type shit.
Well, the guy he faced?
Yeah, Masvidal. So and he actually he went way longer. He kept it more competitive than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's semi inside information. I mean, here's what I'll say. I like Colby in that fight because I think whenever you have somebody who can control the grappling, I mean, you got to consider taking that guy. I don't love laying 3-1. I mean, the fight I won the most money on that card was I bet 2 fights. I went 2 for 2. It was a good card for me. So I've watched Edson Barboza fight multiple times, but I never watched Bryce Mitchell fight before. Right? The dude for like the American Cowboy guy.
Yeah.
He's great. He's great, by the way.
He donated half of his money.
Yeah. But so then I'm like, let me watch a few other fights. So maybe I'll bet on something else. I watched his last fight where he fought Feely. And I just watched him wrestle where and he doesn't just wrestle with his like upper half. He wrestles with his lower body. He's controlling the legs, like squeezing. And I'm like, okay, like this dude is for real. He's good. So I only had to lay like 170. And I'm like, I mean, Barboza has already shown that not that everybody can do what Khabib did, but versus a really top wrestler grappler, like he gets controlled. And also I kind of feel like guys who kick, like their strength is kicking, like that's not as effective as boxing and stuff to keep wrestlers off you.
How old
So
is he now?
I bet Bryce Mitchell. Who,
How old is
Barboza?
Yeah.
I think he's in his mid-30s.
I feel like he's been around for a while.
Yeah. But he's not like super old. But yeah, so I bet that one, and it felt great at like minus 175 on that was good value after watching that fight, I think. And then I also bet RDA because I'm like, this guy's taking this fight on short notice. And then I looked at whatever that guy's Reckler or Moicano. He's never beat anybody who's any good, and like good strikers all beat him. And RDA usually beats guys who aren't top. Against the top guys, he loses, and against very good competition, he sometimes wins, sometimes loses. Yeah. And then, but like bad guys, he always beats. And that one was less than minus 202. So I like those bets. And I mean, I like Colby, but it was just like, it felt like at minus 300, there wasn't like a ton of value. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, it was tough. Like I hate pulling the trigger on that, but like literally just seeing the guy out partying in nightclubs and like literally just taking pictures. And I thought there was a chance that he gasses in the first round. Like I was getting like really worried because I was just banking that first round. Like I almost bet first round knockout or second round knockout, so I was shocked. Like they went the distance. He stayed up. Like I was baffled. The fight before that was amazing too.
Yeah, that was who fought. That was the RDA fight.
Was that the RDA fight?
Yeah. Right.
RDA fought Moicano, dude. So here's the crazy thing. Early in the card, there's a fight with Kevin Holland and this like Brazilian cowboy guy, whatever his name is. The ref stops the fight when the cowboy's on the ground. He's in a bad position. He's blocking, and Kevin Holland's like winging elbows in, and the ref stops it, which I would say was on the early side, but not like unreasonable. But here's the thing: the guy's blocking it. In the fight you're talking about, which was amazing, RDA.
How many times should they have stopped that fight? I mean,
dude, RDA was ground and pound. The guy's head was bouncing off the canvas like this with no fucking defense, and the ref didn't stop it at third. It's like, how do you stop the one fight but not stop this? That makes no sense.
I mean, the respect I have. I mean, obviously the guy lost years off his life, but like for him to just keep getting, it was insane.
Which fight? Which one?
This is the RDA Moicano he's talking about.
The co-main event.
Barboza, Rast, you know Brazilian names. That's not how you spell Barbosa. They put a Z in it. Did you see that? I was with some Brazilians were telling me that. Did you recognize that? You know what I'm talking about? Barbosa?
Yeah.
That's not a Brazilian name. There's no Brazilian name with a Z.
I think he is Brazilian. He is Brazilian.
And I know, but I think he changed his name or something because like it's like it's not like how it's not a real spelling. I was told by people, but Koonce, I know we're on the East Coast. I know you're a bit of a night owl, but I do want to ask before, just so we make sure we get this in. Could you explain a bit your story about how you got into sports cards and like tell me a little about your growing up, because you started what?
Jeff, I am gonna literally strangle you. What the fuck?
You're asking me this now? Okay.
Why do you cut off a conversation to change the topic? The conversation was very natural. Let me talk about
we can.
So hold on. I'm going to give you my quick spiel in under 60 seconds. So just like everybody else as a kid, we're all trading baseball cards, right? At 8, 9, 10 years old. Like, we all did it, and that's why we love it today. Everybody kind of veered off into doing whatever normal shit they did. I just like got super lucky and kind of stayed in it and hit a really major rush with the grading market. So like even as like, okay, cool story, like, 13, 14 years old, my mom is like the greatest in the world. She kind of let me have way more freedom than I probably should have. But like to show how crazy it was, at like I think 14, she drives me down to Toledo, which is like an hour and a half from Michigan. And I meet up with this other card guy, and he's willing to take me to a card show in Boston. So it's like a 17-hour car ride. And he's got his van full of all these cards. And I look in the van, and there's the 2 seats up front, which are taken, and then there's a milk crate in the back. So like as a 14-year-old kid, I literally sit on a milk crate for a 17-hour car ride to go to a show in Boston to make like, $100. But I was just like, that just shows how addicted I was to like cards. But and then I got lucky, graded hit, like made money and was
Cheers
able
to your
to.
mom for driving
Dude,
you. Jesus.
oh, my mom, she dragged me to shows all the time. Like she was a
Yeah.
hustler. Like I feel like all entrepreneurs have like that kind of young, you kind of got away with a little more as a kid. But did well, made money, lost a ton of money, made money, had fun with it, and we're back. So anyway, back to UFC.
Okay.
Brian, do you know mine and Jeff's story about the McGregor Khabib fight?
No. Well, tell me.
It's the only fight I've ever been to, bro. It's a pretty good.
Oh,
fight.
you guys went to that one. Yeah,
We
that
went
was
to
an
the-
insane one, right? With the fight.
So we're at the fight. We bet a lot of money in Khabib. Right after the fight's over, we're not like ringside, but we're close, but we're kind of right where the walkway is when the people come in, and the fight's over. It's starting to get rowdy. And all of a sudden, like I feel like this pressure on my shoulder, and like one of these Russians or Irish guys, whichever one it was, I don't know which side it was, just kind of like springs off of my shoulder and just jumps over onto. It must have been a Russian. He jumps onto one of the Irish guys, and they're just beating the shit out of each other. And you start to see like the SWAT just comes storming in. People are beating the shit out of each other. Me and Jeff are with an NFL lineman who's 320 pounds, built like a brick shithouse. I look at him and I'm like thinking we're safe. He goes, "Let's get the fuck out of here." So now we're at the bottom of if you've been to T-Mobile, we're at the bottom of the bowl, and you look up and you realize like, holy shit, like I'm screwed if I don't get out of here. So we just bolted to the front or to the top, and we were sitting at the top and we're watching like SWAT come up. Like I don't know about you, Jeff, but like that was kind of like your stomach drops.
It could have gone a couple different ways for sure. Yeah, we were ready to roll, but that was a great fight. That he hopped out of the ring, the whole thing. Yeah,
I was actually playing a poker tournament during that fight. We took a break. We paused it to watch that fight. I had bet on it with Koon had also bet on it. So this was like my kind of introduction to UFC in a way, right?
really?
That was a super big fight. I wasn't that big of a fan before. I was, but not like big. But I was on the fish side. I realized that as I'm watching the fight, that my McGregor bet was like lighting money on fire. And I'm like, but then that started changing my whole like, wow, like how cool is this? Like actually guys who wrestle and grapple, like that's awesome. And, started me down this journey. After that fight, I watched like every single one of Khabib's old fights. And I'm like, okay, this guy's like the fucking truth. Like I'm betting on this guy every single fight afterwards. And the crazy thing is actually in his like future fights, the public narrative was like, how can this guy beat Khabib? And somehow you only had to lay like 220 or 280.
No, he was he was like minus 175, 180. We got. I think we talked.
No, McGregor was great, but I'm even talking like later against Poirier and Gaethje.
Oh yeah.
Like you didn't even have to lay that much. Like sometimes you get these, you got to lay 300 or more. Like Khabib was never even over 300 against them. It was like great bets. But
I just remember that fight. Like I feel like we talked to some pro and he was trying to explain to us that the true odds were like Khabib should have been like minus 400. But so many fish were, no offense, so many fish were jumping on McGregor that it kept the line down. And he's like the value at minus 170 or 180, whatever it was at, was so insane. So we were just like, okay, like my heart, I'm a huge McGregor fan. I wanted to bet McGregor, and he's like, it's just the most dead money. So we pounded Khabib. Once Jeff bet Khabib, I was like, there's no way I'm not betting on Khabib because he's not gonna Jeff's not gonna lose a sporting wager.
By the way, so in like 2 days, so this isn't like some huge fight, but on this UFC fight night, there's this guy. It's his second fight in the UFC, Alex Pereira. Have you heard of him? He's a middleweight. He actually in kickboxing, he was like the glory champion for years. He was actually a 2-weight champion. And he beat Izzy twice. He knocked Israel Adesanya out, and he's now a middleweight in the UFC, and he's fighting. It's a pretty interesting fight. The other guy who's fighting only has like one loss in his career. It's the headlining the card. But I watched Alex Pereira's one fight in the UFC, where he knocked the guy out after the guy tried to wrestle with him. He knocked him out in round 2. And then I watched like 3 or 4 of Bruno Silva, the guy who was fighting last fights. I think I want to lay. I mean, it looks like it's 190, 162. So the middle's probably like 175. I think I want to lay the 175 on Alex Pereira because it looks like, so Bruno Silva, my understanding from watching these 3 or 4 fights is he's a striker and he's a decent striker. He looks like he's all right. But like Alex Pereira is like a fucking world champion kickboxer who's as good as Israel Adesanya striking. I'm like, will I take Israel Adesanya, quote unquote, striking against a guy who's like a decent, good middleweight striker? Like, yeah. So I don't know. That's a very simplistic breakdown. Maybe Bruno Silva will try to wrestle him, but like it doesn't seem like he's he's not a wrestler. He's a striker. So I don't know.
How much more popular is boxing or UFC than boxing now? Is it even close?
Do you know, Koonce?
I don't know. Like I used to like boxing, and then when I started watching UFC, like I've been watching UFC for like 8 or 9 years, and I haven't gave a shit about boxing ever since.
Yeah,
I've watched a few of the publicity stunts, like the Mayweather fight with McGregor, the Tyson fight. But other than that, like
the Mayweather-McGregor fight is the most I've risked on a sports bet, was laying on Mayweather. Yeah, and I actually feel like a giant PUSSSY that I didn't lay more than I did. Like
what was
a good bet?
6-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you could get close to the fight. You could get like 4. You could lay like 450 or 4, maybe. It depends. Like in a casino, you probably couldn't get that, but
yeah, it's like free money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Free money's good. Free money bets are good.
Yeah, that's the thing. The UFC is just, it's so much more interesting, isn't it? It's like, because you can strike, you can wrestle, you can grapple, you can submit them and everything. I don't know. It's like way more fun to think about.
I mean, I've been to I've been to Super Bowls, NBA I've been to every major sporting event you could be at. Except a major soccer match, which we're going to knock out at some point soon. Maybe the World Cup. But I'm telling you, the energy at the arena for like when McGregor and his song comes out, like you get goosebumps. Like to me, that was way more exciting than like a Super Bowl. It just gives you chills. It was pretty incredible to be at that fight. Like I definitely want to go. The next big UFC fight, I want to go.
The UFC is wild because really shit can get fucking crazy, right? Like it's real. Like it's not like a game. It's like there's really shit. Something can go down. Like someone can get really hurt. There's
people. I mean, you watch these fights and there's times like guys get pretty bloody, like quite a bit of blood.
Like, I mean, like when you see them get knocked out and then they like get up and like try starting like a fight with the ref because they have no idea where they're at. Like that's crazy. Like it's just I mean, it's like modern day gladiator type shit. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's like the mindset. That's another thing that's cool. Man, listen, I watch like the embedded stuff. Like I love trying to see like how's this guy talking about the fight. I don't know. It's fun. It's interesting. Like you're saying, the mindset of it has to be. I mean, think about it. You're getting in there, and really, it's like you can get hurt. Like your arm can get broken. Like things can get pretty bad in there in the cage. Like
there's
the
a lot
guys
of
stepping
on
in.
the ref, right? Because like if the ref doesn't stop it in the right spot, like guys are going in there to take you down. I mean, like if you're like unprotected,
I mean, think how many times you've seen a hit or a strike, and you're like, all right, this is over. And then all of a sudden, like the shit keeps going, and then that guy ends up winning. You're like, how the hell did he absorb that, not get knocked out, and like he came back in the next round and won the fight after like this? It just blows my mind sometimes. But
crazy.
We should go to the next fight in Vegas.
Yo, I'm down, man. I don't know when the next one in Vegas is going to be. I mean, I think from a perspective, this last card was probably fun. I'd say for a pay-per-view card, it was weaker. I mean, there was no championship fight. But, dude, there's going to be a really good card. It's not in Vegas. In April 9th here, there's 2 championship fights. Neither of the championship fights are amazing. It's Volkanovski defending against Korean Zombie, which he should probably win. And Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling in their rematch, which I think is more interesting than that one, although Yan is a decent favorite. But that also, dude, have you seen, you obviously know who Khamzat is, right? Khamzat's fighting, and he's not just fighting anyone. He's like ranked number 11 now. Dude, so Jeff, Khamzat
April 9th?
Yeah. Khamzat Chimaev is this dude who's like he's like Russian, but he's like been living in somewhere in Europe, and he's come in the UFC and he's won like 3 or 4. He fought at 170. The next week he like fought at 185. This is before COVID. He's had 1 strike landed on him in like 3 or 4 fights. 1. And he's finished all the guys in like the first and 1 guy in the second round. It's like he's just fucking destroyed these guys. It's been crazy. He's now fighting like the number 2 guy at welterweight. What's his name? The Brazilian like jiu-jitsu. He's like a jiu-jitsu master or whatever. Gilbert Burns. He's number 2. So that fight not only has 2 championship fights, but it's got like, to me, this is like maybe the most exciting fight on the card is Khamzat getting his first like real test. I mean, if he just like waxes Gilbert Burns in like a round or 2, like, okay, man, I'm already like love this dude, but like I'm officially on the train. Like,
so if he whacks him, we're going to the, because then he'll be on the UFC pay-per-view. Like we'll go. That's where I actually want to go. Like when the world calms down a little bit. Like you guys are both married to Brazilian chicks. Like and they do host major pay-per-view UFCs in Brazil.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure those are wild, dude. Because Brazilians they get after it.
I'm gonna need you guys to pull all your favors, get us some like ringside, in Brazil.
Speaking of courtside, what does ringside UFC go for?
That's what I'm saying. In Brazil, it might be cheaper. I'm guessing.
Well, it's in Riyadh.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, it's a good start.
I mean, risk of death might be higher than like Las Vegas, but it'll be a rush.
There could be a real.
Maybe if Colby Covington is fighting.
Yeah.
You know about this, Jeff? Colby?
Well, I know who he is. He actually plays at the.
So he's this guy. So apparently the story is like he was a UFC fighter. He just like was doing really well. He was even ranked, and they told the guy who owned the gym where he trained at, like, we're going to release him after this fight, win or lose, because he's just not interesting enough. So then he goes into Brazil, and after he wins his fight, like calls everybody like filthy animals, and I'm sure everybody wanted to fucking kill him. But like now he's just this like put on this persona where he like amps everything up to a 10. He wears like the MAGA hat and just like talks all kinds of shit about people's families, everything. It's like over the top.
Because he wasn't interesting. He just went full.
He went full heel. He did the full.
That's how you make money though. I mean, look what McGregor did. McGregor's like, he's the most like, he was so fun to watch. Like before, after, during, the most entertaining guy in my opinion. Like,
dude, his rise was epic.
I wonder, like, I don't think he's not ever gonna be McGregor again. But I would go to the next fight just for the atmosphere.
Will he get another big fight?
I think there's a chance he's gonna get one more. Like, it's tough, man, because he's just, his career, he's done. But like, I think just because of who he is, he might get one more. And then he'll be a big dog, and it'll be fun to root for the dog, is my guess.
How much is at stake if he gets smoked though, for him?
I think he's already over right now. So like I think people would expect it, but his left is so deadly that at any point he could win the fight. So like I think even with Khabib, I was still worried. Like Khabib was just totally just messing with them, like the whole fight, you could tell. And I was getting worried because at any moment he could still throw that left hook and knock Khabib out. I don't know,
man. Once thing is counter gasses. Once he gasses, the power isn't there. I'll say this is that, listen, Conor, if you look at the UFC like top selling pay-per-views, it's like all Conor. Like there's like one that isn't Conor in the top 5. Like, so is he going to get another fight? Like, yeah, if he wants to, of course the UFC will give him something. The problem at this point is that I mean, the dude hasn't really been training seriously for years. Now he's coming off like a serious injury where he broke his leg. I mean, dude, if they fed him to like the top guys in that division, I mean, like, honestly, I think his chances against Islam Makhachev, who I think is the best lightweight, is like, he's like under 10%. Like, he's going to get fucking, he's like, this guy's like the next coming of Khabib. Like, literally, Khabib's in his corner, and he trained with Khabib and his dad since he was like a kid. So he's very similar in the fighting style. But even like Charles Oliveira, who's the champ, like, I think is a big favorite against Conor. I don't think they're going to just, I mean, we'll see. The problem is if they give Conor one of these guys, like, they could just smoke Conor, and that like looks pretty bad. It's like way better to have Conor fight someone like Nate Diaz again for the trilogy or whoever, or Jorge Masvidal now. I don't know.
It could be a good betting opportunity if they let him come in against one of these guys that I think it's less than 10. I think it's like, like a 25-1 shot that Conor beats,
Islam. Yeah, me too.
But like I could see the spread coming in at like Conor plus 390 or something stupid.
Yeah, and then you just bet a lot on Islam. I agree, 100%.
Because people won't be able to accept the fact that, oh man, look at the price I'm getting on McGregor. They'll get blinded by the reality that, and then of course we'll lay minus 600, and then Conor will pull a miracle and upset him. But that would be a fun fight. But I agree, Diaz would be, because Diaz is washed up and old too.
So well, I know the UFC wants to make that fight because like they get to run it back, and Khabib will be in Islam's corner, and all the like footage, roll out the dolly footage and shit again. Like, yeah.
Would this be McGregor? Would it be Diaz 3 or 4?
3.
They fought twice already, or they fought 3 times already?
They fought twice.
You sure they haven't fought? Okay? Why do I think Conor's up 2-1? Is it? Yeah. If it's 1-1 right now. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's the business, UFC business is really taken off. And the Brazilians sold it for years ago, right? It was a Brazilian thing, and they sold it probably way too cheap, obviously.
Like $4 million, right?
No way.
No, the UFC is huge. Actually, something that's kind of happening with the UFC right now is they've gotten so big. Like, you go on, they have a deal with ESPN, right? They're selling quite a bit for all their pay-per-views. If anything, it's kind of gotten to a place now where that organization's making so much money, it seems like they're kind of underpaying the fighters.
Yeah.
Like, the fighters actually don't make that much compared to how much it seems like the UFC is probably pulling in today. But
yeah, I think when Dana bought it, I think they paid like $4 million for it.
Wow.
Like, he was, or it was like 4 million, or it was some like stupid number. And so, I mean, we obviously we can look it up really quick, but I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company now.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like a small UFC, like a bad UFC card will sell like 400,000 at $75 a pop, and like a good one will be close to $1 million. Or they've had ones over $1 million.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty decent. Plus they have, it's like they're getting money from ESPN because like essentially all the like fight nights are shown on ESPN Plus and whatever. And I don't know if you have to pay. Do you have to pay for the UFC Fight Pass? I'm probably paying UFC for their Fight Pass.
It's a good business.
I did get a 10% notification on my phone, so I would talk to you guys for 4 hours, but we might have to.
Yeah,
wind down.
I think I've asked a lot of questions.
All right, no, Jeff, you drive again now. Now's when you drive. Koonce only has 10%. We're winding it down. Drive us.
I can take us in and wind us down. All right, Koonce. So Ras is drinking something. Ras is blasted off. He's ready to go. All right, Koonce. Let me think. What are we going to close on? Give me your 2022 sort of prediction for the sports card market. I want to hear it right here out of the horse's mouth. What's going on? I know you're going to be a little more bullish than normal than most, but you always shoot me straight. So what are your thoughts? What's going to be? Is there going to be a big moment here for the industry?
So the only thing I can say is obviously we have no idea what's going to go on with the world. With that being said, when COVID hit, I thought everything crashed and cards went nuts.
I
So,
remember I was worried about you mentally. You were like
oh, dude,
moment.
I
You were
mean,
a bit. I mean, it's
I mean,
crazy. It's crazy how unpredictable it is that you're the guy in the industry, and you like. It's so hard to really know, right? Like you just don't. It's not like you have insider, and you. It's just really hard to predict. You know,
well, I mean, looking now, it actually shows how strong of investment cards
resilient.
are because yeah, I was freaking out because 90% of my net worth is in cardboard, and my first thought was in COVID, nobody needs baseball cards, um, but it just kind of showed that everybody was looking for alternative investments and wanted tangible shit in their hand, and so much real money, institutional money came in. So if we can have a bullish market during something like COVID, yeah, like I'm not really freaked out about anything crazy happening in the world. Yeah, if you would have asked me, like they stopped playing sports, like they canceled NBA. If you would have asked me like 5 years ago, what's the worst thing like you could ever think of to happen in sports cards? I'm like, I don't know, them stop playing would be really bad. Like that would be the worst thing I could think of. And like that happened and cards went higher. So I don't even know what to I can't answer your question because I'm lost. I don't even know what to think anymore. Like if like worst case it'd be the awful like if we go to some crazy war. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Like maybe people are like, "Oh my god, I want to pull my money out of the stock market and buy baseball cards." Like it seems like the most absurd thing to say, but it kind of happened before. So um, I don't want to think a year. I want to think like 5, 10 years down the road. 5 to 10 years, I'm extremely bullish because I think there are going to be a ton more people coming in. I think all the people that are like 25 to 35 years old right now, they're going to start buying back their childhood when they start having more disposable income. Um, so even like stuff like LeBron, like LeBron's a rookie in '03. You know, people that are 20, 25 that grew up watching LeBron the way we grew up watching Jordan, they might not have the money. Um, we can all appreciate how good LeBron is, but they might not have the money to buy LeBron right now. Whereas in 5, 10 years, they have more money, more disposable income, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger and buy a $30,000 LeBron rookie. So I feel the same way about video games. We haven't even talked about this, and we could do a whole nother podcast. Like I'm like super bullish on video games, sealed video games, and I made a massive investment in sealed video games. It's really weird, but to me, I think it is so rare to think of a kid getting a Super Mario Brothers and not opening it. Like I can't even fathom me as a 10-year-old or 8-year-old getting a video game and not opening it like in the car home. So the fact that like these still exist, and it's like totally random situations, right? Like you bought it for your kid for Christmas. He ended up being like an asshole in the car ride home, so you didn't give it to him, and then like it got left in the closet, and who knows how this
At some
happens.
point, you
But
had the vision. You have to have the vision to
Yeah.
hold it that it's worthwhile, and that Jason Koonce is going to be scooping it up and then and flipping it. So yeah, that's a long term play. That's a 30-year play coming through. All right, last question for me at
No,
least.
I will say this, and Koonce has said this before, but about what you're saying with cards is I feel like there's even been a bit of a shift where it's kind of like cards went from a much more there was a market, but like this somewhat more obscure collectible to almost starting to infringe on like, hey, something that more and more people are like, I'm going to show this as like the equivalent of what you would do like with an art piece in your house, right? Like,
yeah,
oh,
100%.
hey, instead of putting up this whatever, I actually have this like signed jersey or like autographed whatever, or this particular rookie card. And it's like, oh yeah, okay.
Well,
I feel like that shift has happened a little bit, and that's part of all this money coming in.
Well, and I joke like 20 years ago, when I did cards full time, like people would ask me what I would do, and it was almost embarrassing to tell them. Like I would say, "Oh, I buy and sell baseball cards," and they're like, "Oh, that's cute. Well, what do you do for like a job, like real money?" And it was like it was embarrassing to say that. And now it's become so many younger people are doing it, and like they look up, they're like, "Oh my god, you buy and sell." I should have just owned it. I wish I would have owned it 20 years ago. Like it was something that was like embarrassing. I wasn't
It's
proud
sort
of
like
it.
poker in that sense, where like I think by default, yeah, people don't really take if you play poker seriously until you understand a bit more, right? And that's not a good example because poker is much bigger niche than
No, but it's similar in the fact that they're like, oh, you gamble for a living, and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, kind of, not really. Yes, there's gambling, but just that immediate uh, judge, or just like they just immediately put a label on you, like, oh, you're a degenerate. Like, I guarantee, like when you say you do poker for a living, like the things that go through people's head is like unlimited of what you are
No,
as a
but
person.
it's exactly what you said. Oh, you gamble. And then either the judgment or oh yeah, like I play the slots also when I go into the
I play
casino,
black.
and you're
Right.
like,
I love black.
yeah, slots
They
and
were-
poker. We're like on the same fucking train, buddy. You and me. You got it.
I can relate. Yeah, I like gambling too.
Exactly. I really love giving the casino 10% edge on every single bet I do. That's exactly why I play poker. It's the exact same thing. We're both risking money in order to win it.
Jason, I will say you have a nicely positioned camera. You're leaving that TV screen, which is a little confusing. I'll say, that is a projector? What's the size of that? Because if you see, that's a basketball hoop under the rail there. So how big is that actual screen?
Yeah, our movie screen in here is 22 by 20 feet or something. It's pretty big.
Wow,
the kids.
And so that screen up there is just like you're out here, you're shooting hoops. There's probably a gym there, and then you just put like a game or something up there, right?
Yeah, and actually where I'm at right now, I'm sitting, like we have a really nice poker table set up, and like we up here, and so we're all playing poker. Yeah, we're playing poker. We throw the UFC on there. It's like it's a 4K HD projector, so when we're watching, it's pretty. And they turn the surround sound in the building, so like especially during UFC or whatever. It's pretty intense.
I got to move to Detroit just so I can come to UFC.
I live like 25 minutes away from my parents' house. So are you shuffling chips there, Koonce?
Yeah, I've got chips in my hand. I'm like, I see you guys, and you guys are degenerate, gamblers, and it just gives me I might have to go to the casino after this. No, honestly, for the next time Jeff's in town, and I know you've been invited in the past, but like maybe U of M football when September rolls around. It's a great time of year. We'll get you out on the field. We'll get some fresh air, and then maybe we'll play a nice little 1-2 game.
I love it. That Rasty's going to be in for that. Do you have a basketball up there handy? Because I know you hit the first time I came over, your first shot, you backboard swished it. I got an Instagram video to prove it. Do you have a ball up there? Could you maybe just?
I don't have a ball up here. I don't have a ball up here, but you missed it. Last week, we have a friend, our buddy Gary, was over here, and I was sitting in my seat with the ball. And I look at him, and he goes, Koonce, you can't make that. And I go, what odds do you give me? He goes, I'll give you 5-1. I turn, and I hit it. And he takes this $500 chip, and he flings it at me. He's so pissed. He goes, you cheated me. And I go, it was like, I wish it was on video. It was the funniest. Everyone was dying for like 20 minutes. Like from the moment we made the bet to like when I hit the shot was like, I was like, bet, lock. And then I just shot it, and it just switched. First shot, 5-1. And oh my God, he was so pissed.
You got to have a nest in there, like a camera on the court, like for some.
I do. I mean, yeah, there's cameras everywhere in here, so I could definitely go back and find it.
You might have to catch video images. All right. Well, listen, that's it. Question wise on my end, Rasty, what do you got? Do you have one more? We can't go rabbit hole, but we're almost at 2 hours on the nose. If you want to just take it.
Listen, Jeff, we already know this about me. I'm a horrible question on the spot guy. I'm only like. Conversation in the flow.
All right, last question for real, because we'll just take it right to 2 hours since we're almost there and we're setting milestones on Big Free. This is late for everyone. We're recording, and this is it's past midnight Eastern. Jason, we appreciate you.
We might have to cut like the basketball, like the 20 minutes of us talking about our basketball bet, because like we 2 hours is a lot of time for people to listen to. So
it is. I mean, it is a lot. You got if we cut out UFC,
no, we can't cut anything out. The people want all of it. The people love you. The people are here for you, Koonce. We're just filtering them. Give the people what they want.
You get it right. All right, last question. How do you store? What's the best way if you own sports cards to show? Because the majority have it in a safe, or they have it somewhere. Like, what's a good way? And is there maybe something that? Because I'll say this: a very good friend of mine for NFTs. They I had never seen it. I heard about it. Like they had this thing they put on the wall and it cycles through. So like, is there a good option to show and more so enjoy your own collection. It's not a risk. What do you suggest? Because this is a problem I have with sports cards. This is an actual problem.
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, honestly, the best way is the safety deposit box, and then when you have somebody coming in town, and it sucks, but I mean, like my bank is 12 minutes away. If somebody's coming into town, I know they want to check a bunch of stuff out. I'll stop by that day and go through the safety. But honestly, safety deposit box. There's also like, and then there's another place I store cards at because I have a lot of stuff. It's about a half hour away. It's like almost like a vault. They store other collectibles. Most people don't have the collection size that I do, so you should be able to get away with like a 1 or 2 big safety deposit boxes. But yeah, in every major city.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like you got some buddies in town, or you just want to enjoy in your office, but you can't really just like leave it out because you have, whatever. People, it's just like it's difficult because I think that's one of that seems like a real issue though. That's all I'm saying. Because for me,
it is. And yeah, I mean,
it's annoying. Like, okay, you own all this stuff and you put it in the thing or whatever. I don't know. It just seems like that's sort of NFT addresses, right? That's kind of one of the things about
it's a bonus of NFT. Honestly, like the stuff that I have as an investment is different than the stuff that I enjoy looking at. So luckily, the stuff I enjoy looking at, might be framed up $1,000, $500, where it's not the end of the world. Like you got that badass Tyson thing on your wall. It's not the most valuable thing in the world, but it's like one of the coolest pieces. So yeah. So investment stuff, I don't mind keeping it at a safety deposit box. Every few months, like I'll check out the stuff, take some pictures, bring it home if we're filming something for content. Get the zoom into that tight. There you go.
There are a couple tickets up there. You got me into the ticket game. Those are
I love tickets. So yeah, like if you buy some cool stuff for the wall, like jerseys framed up, but the really really good stuff you got to keep locked up.
All right, we did it. We made 2 hours minus 74 minutes of UFC and NBA, which if you enjoy that, that'll be very, this will be big. If not, then you can
not 74 minutes.
It was a lot, but it's great. It's all good.
Look, Ras is giving the look right now of I want to go for 3 hours. That's the look he's giving us. He's giving us the I want to go for 3 hour look.
I would. It sounds like Koonce is going to run out of battery. I got a third beer that's actually twice as strong as the last 2 I drank, so it's almost like having 4. I held off because we were about to quit right now.
Yeah,
but I would do it. I'm an animal.
Ras, this is a journey. This is episode 5 of Big Free. It was
Koonce is going to be a repeat guest.
I think he'll
be back.
I am happy to chat. I mean, it's the funny thing is we do this anyway, so why not record it? Like
exactly.
It's sort of how this.
That's the exact. Mindset.
This is just another Tuesday for us.
This is an excuse to get 2 hours of your time, bro. That's exactly what it is. There's no podcast. We made that up.
Well, no. To be fair, Rast and I have done that. We recorded once and we forgot to hit. Well, the mic was messed up and we had to scrap it. This would be a tough 2 hour redo. I'm glad
I'd have to go charge the phone. I mean, I want to do one in person. That's a good way to get you both to Michigan. I'll just like bribe you with like Michigan tickets, and then you got. I mean, Jeff already has a home here, so he has no problem coming back to Michigan.
That's true.
I guarantee Brian's never been to Michigan.
That's a big guarantee. I don't think that's true.
I don't think I have.
Oh, it's not a guarantee, but yeah,
I'm pretty sure I haven't. At some point, I need to go. The best bet to get me is a time when my wife's just out of town and there's something, and boom, I just fly on over.
Detroit's actually underrated. It's a pretty amazing city now. But truthfully,
Michigan will survive you. Google silver sleeping bear sand dunes, and tell me if you think you're in Michigan or if you think you're on Necker Island.
Yeah, it's a pretty it's a real deal. But Detroit's really leveled up as well. It's a pretty sweet city. So Ras, while you get lost in the sand dunes, Jason, we're gonna let you get back to grading and organizing and running a large business. So congrats on ISA Grading.
An empire, a card empire.
And we'll let you guys make your floor seat bets off podcast for the NBA and what's happening. But yeah, guys, thank you, Jason. Always a treat, always a pleasure. We'll see you soon. And I know we'll be playing some poker again in no time.
I love both of you. I appreciate it.
Much love, brother.
Miss
All
you,
right,
bro.
guys, that was episode number 5, Big Free in the books. Jason Koonce, follow him on the Otia Sports, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media, ISA grading if you need the card graded. And you can also watch him on my podcast, episode number 20, if you want to go back deep. And actually, well, there's more to do. We'll have him back on. That's it. I'm going to look.
And you can see him on my podcast as well. No, wait, you can't. Okay.
Mine you can. Episode 20. See you later, guys.
Bye.